Hello. Today I'm going to talk about fossils and how various types of fossils form. So in this image here, it just shows, this diagram shows a simplified version of how fossils form. You see this dinosaur here dying. So an organism is going to first die probably in some area that allows them to be quickly covered, usually covered in mud or sand or some other kind of sediment, okay? So that's the first thing. Then, once they're covered, over time, they're going to get buried deeper in the ground. And we see this here. This may take thousands of years, millions of years, but they get buried by more and more layers. So originally when this organism died, the soft parts, most of those would have decayed away. So usually those parts are going to be gone. And what you have left are hard parts like bone and teeth. Now these hard parts, once they're buried in the earth, they can actually get they can actually have water move through them. And as water moves through these hard parts that are buried in the earth, they become mineralized. So there are minerals that actually move into the spaces that these bones were taking up. And we see some classic fossils right here, right? This is what we think of when we think of fossils. Well, minerals move into those bones, and they actually turn those bones slowly into rock over time. And then through various plate tectonics, movements of the earth, those bones eventually are exposed to the surface where people can find them within the current rock layer that they're in. They're going to be different, however, than those rocks. They're going to be infused differently than the rock that was creating them. So we can see the bones. They're a different shade, they're a different composition, and they can stand out once we pick them out of that rock. Now, there's some other ways that fossils are formed too. We have examples of bodies that have been basically turned into mummies or mummified. And this happens when a body is rapidly dried. There's not very many places in the world where this happens, but it can happen in environments that are warm or cold. But really, the key is that they're very dry. So the liquids or the moisture in the body evaporates very quickly. And this prevents the tissues from decaying, going through that process. And they can last for thousands of years, actually. We have one down here. This is an amber with what looks like a ant inside of it. And in this case, we have resin that is seeping out from trees. So think of the resin like tree sap, right? So it comes out of the trees and it covers up some kind of an organism, or the organism gets trapped, right? You can imagine this ant walking along the tree and getting trapped in this resin. Well, slowly over time, that resin will actually harden and it gets turned into amber, a very tough, resistant, solid structure. And then it helps if that amber gets even buried and protected from the elements. All right, we also have tar pits like the La Brea tar pits in Los Angeles. In this case, the organisms, they come to the tar pits, they accidentally get trapped by the tar pits and die in the tar. They're stuck there. And the tar covers them up. Well, the tar is a form of crude oil. And by covering them up, it actually protects them from decay. So it can protect them from decay by not allowing other creatures to chew at the corpses or take the bones away from that site. There is no oxygen at that point, so there's no bacteria that goes through the decay process, and it protects these bones, these fossilized creatures. And then finally, we get these examples of animals that have been frozen, kind of like flash frozen if you put them into a really cold freezer. And just like the tar pits, they're rapidly covered by, could be mud, it could be snow, could be ice, but it's in a very, very cold climate. That's the thing, rapidly covered in a very cold climate. And that freezing process is what inhibits the decay of that organism. Same thing with the tar, right? So there's that freezing doesn't allow other microorganisms or larger creatures to come by and start eating and decomposing this this creature. In this case, you can see it was a woolly mammoth. That was actually a baby woolly mammoth that was actually preserved in the snow and ice for tens of thousands of years. All right, I hope this helps. Thanks.